Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Oracle. My name is Laval and I will be your host this evening. Before we begin, I'd like to tell you a true story about a man who once walked these very rooms. In the year 1896, a merchant sailor by the name of Samuel Black owned this house. And he was famous for the elaborate parties he would throw. His guests would arrive at 10 p.m. and they would stay until sunrise. But on one particular evening, the bell rings. Samuel answers the door and to his surprise, he doesn't see his guests, but a young gypsy girl on his doorstep. Now at the time, it wasn't uncommon to see the lower class knocking on the doors of the wealthy to offer their services, whether it was for sex, labor around the house, or even entertainment. Musicians, fortune tellers. Half a penny, read your palm. Ugh. Samuel had no interest in what he believed was fortune-telling nonsense, nor did he need any help around the house. But this time was different. The young girl on his doorstep was beautiful. And upon setting his gaze on her pale white skin and striking emerald eyes, he fell in love. Her name was Isabella. That evening, Samuel sat by the fire, ignoring his other guests, utterly spellbound by Isabella's charm. During the course of the evening, she told him all kinds of things about her life. Her childhood as a gypsy traveler, her family traditions as a fortune teller. But what she did next was unlike anything Samuel had ever seen. So during the extensive research we've done in preparation for tonight, reading through plenty of historical documents and much of Isabella's own writing, we found that what she did for Samuel that evening in front of the fire was a demonstration of her incredible intuitive abilities. Now, until that point, Samuel was quite a skeptic, but he did carry with him what he called his lucky dice. Now, to him, the dice was just a symbol of chance and fate, but perhaps there was a hint of a believer in him after all. Something that Isabella recognized. From there on, their relationship blossomed and they were married within a year. They seemed to be the perfect couple. Tonight, I will be demonstrating all of Isabella's intuitive claims exactly as she would have done them. There are no stooges, plants, or confederates in the audience here to help me out in any way. Isabella always worked alone. And it all began with a roll of the dice. So, each evening, Samuel allowed Isabella to use his lucky dice on one condition, that she return it safely each night before he went off to the gambling rooms. And this is what she did. For this, I'll be needing a volunteer. You don't need to worry, you can stay exactly where you are. Maybe our friend here, what's your name? Pete. Pete? So, Pete, I'm going to hand you this. I'm going to put this little tray on the table in front of you. Inside it, you'll find a dice. Pick it up, give it a roll, have a look at what it lands on, and then cover it up, making sure nobody sees what it is. So you're the only person in the room that will know. Thank you, Pete. I'm going to leave that with you. So give the dice a roll, have a look at what it lands on, then cover it up, making sure nobody can see what it is. Excellent. Is it done? Yep. Perfect. So the lady here, if you were to just have a random guess, like a 4 or a 5 or whatever, just off the top of your head at what this number could be, what would you say? A 3. Now, I don't expect you to be right. The odds are not in your favor, but out of curiosity, what did you roll?
1.
A 1. Okay, fine, fair enough. But Isabella realized that she couldn't just look at somebody and guess the number they had rolled. So she had a very clever idea. She assigned a meaning to each number on the dice. 1, ego, our sense of self, our personality, our identity. 2, love, not just romantic relationships, but also friends and family. 3, creativity, how we choose to express ourselves in the world. 4, stability, the life we are building for ourselves. 5, wealth, not just money, but the abundance of good things in our lives. And 6, luck, anything that's outside of our control. She realized that if she could sense any of these traits about whoever rolled the dice stronger than any of the others, then that could indicate the number they had rolled. So with that in mind, let's try this again. Pete, if you could give the dice a roll, have a look at what it lands on, and then cover it up, making sure nobody can see. Is it covered? All right then. So I'm torn between a few of these. I get a sense that you're the kind of person that's very recently become aware of all the wonderful things in your life and everything you've brought with you this far on your journey through life. You're very aware of what you've got right now and you're very grateful for it. And for that, I think you rolled a 5. Yeah. A 5? Excellent. Thank you, Pete. Let's try this for somebody else. Thank you. Maybe the lady here. What's your name? Francesca. Francesca, if you could take this, give the dice a roll in the tray, have a look at what it lands on, and then cover it up, making sure nobody sees what it is. Excellent. Is it done? Yeah. And is it covered? Yeah. All right then. Okay, very similar to Pete. You're somebody who's very much aware of the good things in your life. You know, this is weird. I hope this makes sense. When I look at you, I'm seeing like baking or cakes or something like that. Is that something you do? Yeah. All right then. And for that reason, you hope to own a bakery one day, I believe. I think you rolled another 5. I did. You did? All right, excellent. So thank you very much, Francesca. Let's try this with somebody else. Oh, thank you. Maybe our friend here. What's your name?
Michael.
Sorry?
Michael.
Michael. If you could do the same, Michael, if you could stick the tray on the table in front of you, have a roll of the dice, look at what it lands on, and then cover it up, making sure nobody sees. Is it done?
Yeah.
All right then, and it's covered, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so Michael, I get a sense that you're the kind of person. Where are you from?
Ireland.
Oh yeah, the look of the Irish. You're the kind of person who just trusts that life will give you whatever you need, whatever's meant for you. I think you found yourself saying to yourself, maybe not in these words, but whatever is meant for me won't miss me. The luck of the Irish. Why do I keep saying that? It's not just because you're Irish. I do think there is something to do with luck here. I think you rolled a 6.
Yeah.
A 6? Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for our dice rollers. Thank you, Michael. Thank you. All right. So night after night, no matter how many times the dice was rolled, Isabella would always correctly divine the outcome. This amazed everybody who saw it, and it confirmed her faith in her psychic abilities, to the point where she could give the dice to somebody and ask them to leave the room, and she would still correctly guess the number they rolled. But one evening, she gave the dice to a particularly pushy gentleman who not only left the room, he left the building. Samuel's lucky dice was never seen again. A couple of weeks later, Samuel comes home drunk and angry after losing an absolute fortune at the card table, gambling without his lucky dice. He blamed Isabella for his misfortune. Furiously, he stormed into the room, grabbed her by the back of her hair, dragged her to the corner and beat her black and blue, leaving her broken on the floor. She was 6 months pregnant at the time. Now, Isabella was never the same after that, and after a lengthy recovery and some time had passed, Samuel was found hanging from a rope at the top of the stairs. Now, could it have been gambling debts that caused Samuel to do this? Maybe it was guilt from what he'd done to Isabella. There are some who believe that Isabella herself was to blame. Nobody really knows. But what we do know is from that moment on, Isabella stopped telling the fortunes of the living and began her attempts to contact the dead. Throughout the years, there have been many attempts to make contact with the other side. Even looking as far back as ancient Egypt, where the high priests would burn sacrificial herbs and enter a deep, trance-like state in order to commune with those in the afterlife. Throughout the centuries, the tradition spread far and wide until the mystics and gypsies of Eastern Europe traveled through Spain, Italy, and France, eventually reaching the Liverpool docks. In exchange for food or shelter, they offered a promise to reconnect with past loved ones. We have one final candle. If you could do the honors, please, Michael. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, what you're about to see is something I strongly advise you do not try for yourself. No matter your own personal beliefs, whatever they may be, without proper understanding, the following has been known to drive even the most hardened minds to utter obsession and eventually madness. So before we continue, I need one thing from each and every single one of you. I'd like you to sit upright in your chair with your feet flat on the floor, raise your right hand, and repeat after me. I am willing to have this experience. Think about what you've just done. You have no idea what's about to happen next, yet you've just agreed to it anyway. So if at any point you wish to leave, simply raise your hand and a member of my team will escort you out. But just know that if you do decide to leave, you won't be able to come back in for the rest of the show. So with that in mind, I do need to hear it one more time. Repeat after me. I am willing to have this experience.
I am willing to have this experience.
Thank you. You can put your hands down now. All right then. For this, I'll be choosing a volunteer, somebody I feel already has a strong connection with somebody on the other side. Maybe our friend here. Would you like to come and join me? Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for my volunteer. If you could take a seat there for me, thank you. All right then. So traditionally, a minimal source of light was used, often a single candle flame, and those taking part would sit as close to it as they possibly could, because they believed that the spirits would appear in the darkest corners of the room and stand there watching and waiting. The darker and more sinister spirits were left alone in the shadows, whilst those called by name were invited to step into the light where they could touch the hearts of the living. So as long as you stay right here, at least you'll be safe. Everybody else, whilst this is happening, I'd like you to pay close attention to everything you can see in the room and everything you can feel. Some of you will notice a sudden change in the temperature of the room or the air around you. Spirits may signal their presence by giving you goosebumps or even sending a chill down your spine. And as their presence grows and strengthens, your breathing gets heavier, your heart starts to beat faster, and the palms of your hands begin to sweat, just like some of you are feeling right now. For this, I will need absolute silence. The concentration required to do this is unimaginable. Let's begin. All right then. What's your name? Victoria. Victoria, if at any point this gets too personal, just look at me and say, I understand, and then we'll move on. All right then. So, you don't have sensitive skin on your hands, do you?
No.
Okay. But you've been using hand sanitizer and things like that? Okay. So, all I'd like you to do is just hold your hands out like this for me. I'm going to give you a couple of drops of this. I'll do the same for myself. And if you could just rub this in. This is what's known as a cleansing or a cleansing ritual. It's said to cleanse your aura, your energetic field, and even if you don't believe in those kinds of things, there's no way I'd be attempting this without. All right then. So I'd like you to think of someone from your life who's no longer living, someone who's no longer with us, but somebody that you have positive memories of. You've got someone? All right, I'm going to tell you everything I see, think, and feel. Some of this will make immediate sense to you, and some of it won't make that much sense at all. But as long as you remember everything I say, then by the end of this show, it'll all make perfect sense to you. All right, let's begin. I'd like you to place your left hand flat on top of mine. All right, then. Oh, I see. So there's actually a couple of spirits connected to you. One of them's in the very sort of distant past. This is a male, and this is somebody who passed away when you were still a child, and I don't think you have the strongest memories of them. But there's another spirit with a much stronger presence. I think this is an older lady. Be honest with me, you thinking of your grandmother? Now, there's a couple of things. She Firstly, I feel that one of the main things that brought her joy was seeing you happy and seeing you smiling. And when she had a conversation with anyone, she'd only ask them questions about themselves. And if they were smiling, so was she. And she had this knack, this ability to see the good in everything, no matter what was going on. She could see the lighter side of everything. And I've got a feeling that as a child, if you'd come home from school and you were upset about something, if there was that one person that could put a smile back on your face, it was your grandmother. And I think that as a creative person, she could see the world in a different way. And I don't know whether she was an artist or had an interest in art, but it was the way in which she'd look at things that was just special. And even if you had silly games as a child that you wanted to play, she was always there for you. And I feel that there's music playing, and I'm seeing a celebration. Maybe this is taking place in the kitchen and she's dancing. She liked to entertain. And towards the end, I understand that maybe her personality or her sort of character might have changed a little bit. I think she was a little bit quieter, a little bit more reserved. She spoke a little bit less, and almost like it seemed that her sparkle was almost gone. But you've just got to remember that that was her way of dealing with things. She understood what was about to happen, and the only thing she really cared about was you and the people closest to her. And I feel that for you, it took every ounce of your strength to give her one final smile towards the end. It took everything from you, but it was what she needed. Towards the end, I feel there was an issue with her balance, her walking, and there's tightness around her chest. I don't know if this is her heart or her breathing. That makes sense to you? Yeah. But she's not suffering anymore. And if she could see you right now, she'd have already thrown her arms around you and given you the biggest hug. I'd like to try something. You can take your hand back now. In a moment, not just yet, but in a moment, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. And you don't need to worry. Nobody's going to scare you or jump out at you. But I am going to stand up, and I'm just going to stand behind my own chair while I continue to talk to you. So if you can close your eyes for me now. And I'm sure you can tell by the sound of my voice, I'm standing up from my chair, and I'm going to stand directly behind it. And as you sit there with your eyes closed and you think of your grandmother, in your mind, I'd like you to see her face, her beautiful smile, the clothes she wore, the unusual items of jewellery that quickly became her favourites, the sound of her voice. Now, this will only happen if you allow it to. So I'd like you to go into this with an open heart and an open mind. And as you see her in your mind right now, allow her to step out of the light and into this room. And in a moment, you'll begin to feel a presence, and with that comes a sense of familiarity. As your grandmother steps closer and closer and closer to you, and as she gets right in front of you, you'll feel a wave of her love and warmth wash over you as she stands before you once again. And I'd just like you to give me a clear yes when you become aware of her presence. Yes. Excellent. Now, if there is anybody in this room right now that can speak directly to her, it's you. So in your mind, and only in your mind, I'll never ask you to say this out loud. In your mind, I'd like you to ask her a question. This could be a question that you've always wanted to ask her, or maybe something you've thought of just now. But when you ask her this question, allow her to give you an answer, and she will. I'll give you a moment to do this, and just give me a clear yes when she's given you an answer. Yes. Excellent. Now we'll try one more thing with your eyes still closed. I'd like you to hold your left hand out in front of you with your palm facing up. And in your mind, I want you to see your grandmother reaching out and placing her hand in yours as she holds your hand one more time. Now as this happens again, you'll feel that wave of her love and warmth wash over you. And as your hand begins to relax, you'll notice your fingers start to close around her hand. Just as we can see it beginning to happen right now. There we go. And as you enjoy this beautiful moment and think of all she means to you, as she slowly takes her hand away, you can allow your hand to go back to your lap. And I'm going to rejoin you at the table. And you can open your eyes for me now. I know that it's not easy to do what you've just done, But I'd like you to remember that if at any point you wish to see her or feel her presence again, just close your eyes and call her back to you and she'll be there just as she always has been. And remember that when we say goodbye to somebody, it's never forever. And so I'd like to thank your grandmother for joining us this evening and spending time with us. But now it's her time to go back into the light. Sleep well, Dorothy. Ladies and gentlemen, it takes a lot of courage and a lot of bravery to come up here and do this. So with a very gentle round of applause, I invite you to go back to your seat. Thank you so much. I'm going to leave these with you just in case. Use as many of them as you need to. So in the interest of time, unfortunately we don't have enough of it to go around everybody and attempt to make contact with your loved ones in spirit. There might be a little bit of time for that later on. I'll be honest with you, I genuinely don't know how the rest of this evening will go. But there is one spirit in particular that I would like to make contact with. In fact, it's the whole reason we're even doing this tonight. Back when seances were popular, physical items were used that the spirits were encouraged to move, change, or even throw around the room. Anything that made a noise was perfect. Tambourines were popular, a small drum, or even a bell. And it's a little bell that we'll be using. Now, this bell in particular is one that I am genuinely excited to share with you. It doesn't belong to us, unfortunately. It's on loan to us from the Victorian Museum of Curiosities in London. We don't know if this is the exact one that Isabella used during her seances, but what we do know for sure is that it did belong to this household during the time that Isabella lived here. Now, everyone who comes into contact with this thing, myself included, describes this really strange, almost unnerving feeling. I can't quite put my finger on it, but it's definitely there. Well, I'll show you what I mean. Take a good look at this, and please be careful with it. If anything happens to that, I'm in deep shit. All right, excellent. Thank you. I'll be tying a string around the bell for a very specific reason, which I'll explain in just a moment. And I will also be needing another volunteer. This is going to be a lady, and I'll be surprised if anyone even volunteers after what just happened. Maybe, would you like to come and join me? Excellent. Come and take a seat, ladies and gentlemen. A round of applause for my volunteer. Thank you. What's your name? Laura. So traditionally, the medium, often a lady, would go into a trance-like state and allow the spirits to move through their body in order to communicate with everybody in the room. And that is kindly what Laura has volunteered to do for us. And I realise I probably should have told you that before I asked you to come up here. But what we're about to do is completely safe. This is not going to harm or upset you in any way. You will have your eyes closed, but you'll still be aware of everything that's going on in the room. You'll be able to hear what's going on, the sound of my voice and everybody that's here. You will have your eyes closed, but this is simply a relaxed state of focused awareness or concentration. Whatever you decide to call it, that's all it is. All right then, so if you can sit with your feet flat on the floor, thank you. And I'm going to take this hand for just a moment. Look at me. Take a deep breath in and out. And close your eyes and allow your head to fall forwards as you sleep now, right the way down, deeper and deeper and deeper. Every muscle, every nerve, every fiber in your body begins to relax as you sleep now, deeper, deeper, deeper down. You are doing absolutely perfect. Everything you can hear, everything you can feel will send you deeper and deeper and deeper. You're doing perfect. Now you'll notice your eyes begin to flicker, and the more your eyes flicker, the deeper you'll go. As you continue to sleep deeper and deeper and deeper, sinking, floating, drifting into this wonderful state of relaxation. You'll notice that as you sit there in the chair, you begin to become more relaxed as you sleep deeper, deeper, deeper down. Take a deep breath in and out, and the deeper you breathe, the deeper you'll go as you'll sleep deeper, deeper, deeper. Every muscle, every nerve, every fiber in your body completely relaxes. You're doing perfect. Now in a moment, you'll feel me touch the back of your hand. And when I touch the back of your hand, it will start to lift itself up towards the sky all by itself. And the higher your hand goes, the better you'll feel. And the better you feel, the higher it'll go. Your hand starts to lift itself now as it gets higher and higher and higher, all by itself, easily, naturally, and automatically, as though something or someone has a hold of your wrist and they're going to bring it higher and higher and higher, all by itself. You're doing great. Absolutely fantastic. That hand will continue to rise up and up and up like someone or something has hold of it, and it will stop when it gets to here. If you stay right there, that's perfect. Now I will be handing you the bell by wrapping the string around your hand just like this. This is so that if you let go at any point, the bell will not come crashing to the floor. If you could stay like that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the reason for the string is so that if our medium was to make conscious efforts to try and make it ring, it would look like this. Visible efforts must be made, and even then the bell doesn't even really ring. So if you stay perfectly still while we attempt to make contact with this one particular spirit I'm trying to, and the bell rings, that's how we will know for certain we've made contact. Stay as you are, that's perfect. Let's begin. Spirits, spirits, if you can hear the sound of my voice, if you're here in the room with us right now, please make your presence known. Spirits, if you can hear the sound of my voice, we invite you to join us this evening. Please make your presence known. Now, sometimes in a room full of people, when you're trying to achieve the... Okay, stay where you are. You can keep your eyes closed, but be honest with me. Did you ring the bell? But did you feel it ring? Okay, you're doing great. Stay as you are. Let's try that again. Spirits, if you can hear the sound of my voice... One particular evening, the bell rings. Samuel answers the door and finds a gypsy girl on his doorstep. Her name was Isabella. This evening, the bell rings. Isabella, is that you? So, ladies and gentlemen, it appears that we've made contact with Isabella, or at least a spirit claiming to be. Stay as you are. You can open your hand. I'm going to take the bell from you, and your hand will sink and drift back down to your lap now. There it goes, all the way down. Now, I'm going to count backwards from 5 to 0. On each number, you'll begin to wake up bit by bit. And when I get to 0, you'll be wide awake and back to your normal self in every single way. There'll be no spirit energy left in your body. There'll be nothing following you or attached to you in any way. No spirits will harm or chase you or anything like that. In a moment, I'll count backwards from 5 to 0. On each number, you'll begin to wake up bit by bit. When I get to 0, you'll be wide awake, full of energy and full of life, and you'll be exactly as you were before you arrived here this evening. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. You can open your eyes, and I've found that a couple of deep breaths usually helps. Be honest, how do you feel?
A bit shaky.
A bit shaky. Yeah, I'm not surprised after what you've just done. Now, we're all thinking it, and so am I, so I will ask, were you ringing the bell? Definitely not, but you felt it ring.
Yeah.
All right then. So I'd like to thank you for bringing Isabella's presence to the room for us, and with a round of applause from the audience, you can go back to your seat. Thank you so much. All right. Now, of course, Isabella is the spirit I'm trying to make contact with. And usually they pick somebody in a sort of receptive state in order to enter the room. That's exactly what you've done for us. I couldn't do that because I needed to be there to facilitate the experience. But now we've made contact with Isabella, we can continue. But you do have to be careful when you're trying to make contact with the other side and spirits of any sort of nature. There are others that try and get through and could try and enter the room as well. You do have to be... What was that? Really? Did it land on you? What did it?
It landed on a page. Tombs.
Tombs.
Oh my god, that's horrible. Am I going to die now?
Well, I hope not. All right, maybe leave the book on the floor then. Or you could put it on the shelf, it's up to you. But stay right where you are. If that's you, Samuel, you're not welcome here. And during that process with the bell, I did see some reflections in the mirrors behind you. I thought it was me, but I don't think it was. All right, as I was saying, you do have to be careful when you make contact with the other side. You just don't know who's going to try and come through. But as well as Isabella's incredible intuitive abilities and the way in which she could seemingly contact the dead, that's not the real reason why people came from far and wide to see her. They came seeking answers, something Isabella could provide during a process that became widely known as the Oracle Act. This evening, you were invited to write down a question that you would ask a psychic or a fortune teller, and I believe we have those here. Thank you. So whether you were a skeptic or a true believer, the reason the Oracle Act became such a phenomenon is because there is nothing more addictive than seeking easy answers to life's most difficult questions. I'll be attempting to channel Isabella myself and communicate with her intuitively to get some answers to these questions you've written. This will be slow at first, but as her presence grows and strengthens, so will her answers. Now, Isabella in particular, the way in which she gave answers was unusual. It was never direct. It was always in dreamlike imagery, metaphors and symbols. She'd never give you a yes or a no. And also, personally, for my own ethics and morals, I'm not going to give you a yes or no answer either, because think about this. If your question was, I don't know, will I get the new job? If you ask me that and I look at you and say yes, you might think, great, I'm not even going to bother going to the interview because it's going to happen anyway. But if you, it's true. But if your question was, am I going to get the new job? And I look at you and say no, you're going to think, well, why, what's the point? I'm not even going to bother going to the interview. So you can see that whether I say yes or no, it could only have potentially harmful effects on your life. And I am not prepared to do that to you. So with that being said, let's begin. Your surname begins with an F. Your first name is Alex. Who are you? I get a sense there's one key word when it comes to your question, and it's the word will. Will. Something, will you something. Just yes or no, this is your job, yes? And I'm seeing some letters. You work in retail? John Lewis. And Isabella's given me the word prosperity or prosper or something like that. Is your question something like, will I prosper in my position at John Lewis and Partners? Let's have a little look, I'm curious. Okay. I see you stood firmly in your magnificence. You have authority over the land around you, and people come to you for advice and instructions. All right, Isabella. And as you're watching over the land, essentially you become the king of the castle. Now, although right now it feels as though maybe your hard work and your efforts are not being recognized, but absolutely they are. If you continue with the path that you're on and staying focused and keep going with this effort that you've been showing for this time, things will fall into place for you. And I do see you standing there watching over the land. You do become the king of your castle, and I hope that answers your question. All right then, so let's try another. Jenny. No, you call yourself Jennifer. Is there Jennifer in the room? Jennifer. Your question is of a similar nature, but not specifically Liverpool. Your question is about the UK, is that right? It's something like, will I always live in the UK? Is that what you've written? Something along those lines. Okay. I see you lost at sea, drifting away from shores that once seemed so familiar to you. But your heart longs for more. A change in perspective is needed. Rather than looking back at what once was, turn your eyes to new horizons and the exciting adventures that await. I see you with palms of gold and bliss in your heart. You will travel, you will journey. You may live in other places for various periods of time, but you're an adventurer at heart. I can see it in you. You may not always live in the UK, but wherever you decide to live, you'll be happy. And I hope that answers your question. Okay, let's just go with this one. Who's this one? Who's this one? Francesca. Francesca, this is you. Your question is about will you live something about your life, something about meaningful. Will you find meaning in your life, or will you live a deeper, meaningful life? Something along those lines, am I right? Yeah. All right, let's take a look at exactly what you've written. Oh, your handwriting is unusual. Okay. Here's what I'd like you to do. I want you to find a small rock, a pebble or a stone, something small enough to fit in your shoe. Put the rock in your shoe and then go for a walk, again to a natural body of water. This could be a lake or a river or something like that. On each and every step, that rock in your shoe is going to hurt. And along that walk, I want you to think of any negative things in your life that could be holding you back. Anything that doesn't quite sit well with you, anything that no longer serves you, any obstacles or whatever it is that's getting in your way. Think of it all. This could be an emotional journey. Because I want you to think of absolutely everything. And on every painful step of that rock in your shoe, I want you to associate it with something negative in your life that could be holding you back. When you finally reach the body of water, turn your back on the water itself, remove the stone from your shoe, take one last look at it and throw it over your shoulder. Don't look at where it lands, just wait for the sound of it to hit the water and then walk away. Because this is your chance and your turn to walk away from that which no longer serves you. And the moment you do that, suddenly you'll notice a change in yourself. It'll be very subtle at first, but in the coming days, weeks, months, and even years, everything about you is going to change for the better. And that's when you'll suddenly start to recognize the path you're truly meant to be on. And I hope that gives you an answer. Let's carry on. Let's take another one. Sam? No. Ian. Is there someone called Ian? Ian. Oh, okay. I feel that Isabella's chasing you with a broom, and I'm not quite sure why. So in terms of what you do in life, your imagination and even your intuition plays a big role in what you do. I think the life you're building for yourself is based on your sort of the way in which your mind can fit things together. Now you may seem or you may feel as though people around you are a little bit ahead of you in terms of what they're doing in their life, but at the same time, they could look at some of the things that you've got and be totally jealous of it because it's nothing they could ever achieve. I also get a sense that there's been a recent negative event in your life, nothing that was too drastic, but it did kind of set you back emotionally. And maybe that's what stopped this from taking place a little bit quicker as well. But that's okay because I feel that emotionally you are becoming stronger now because of certain events in the past, and you're starting to shape and mold yourself into the person who's ready to get out there and share your creative talents with the world. I think this has got something to do with, I don't know what it is specifically, this has got something to do with your mum as well, is that correct? Now, I've got a feeling she, of course, takes care of you, and, well, of course she does. Of course she does. But Isabella is, again, it's this image of you being chased with a broom. All I'm hearing from Isabella is, in his own time, in his own time. So I won't read your question out loud, but just give me a yes if this gives you an answer. Absolutely you will, but of course in your own time. Yeah? All right, excellent. I mean, I can tell everybody your question if you want to, if you...
Yeah.
Okay. Am I going to move out of my mum's house? Yes, of course, but in your own time. All right, let's carry on.
I have been helping mum, but I've had to move back to me mum.
Yeah, of course, we've always been there. There's nothing better than mum's home cooking. All right. Elaine? No. Eleanor? 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 Your question is, this is a matter of the heart. And again, this is family related. This got something to do with your boyfriend or your partner as well, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah? And this is whether or not your life will develop with this person.
Yeah.
And has it got something to do with children? Is your question something like, will me and my current partner or boyfriend have children?
Yes.
Yes? Let's have a little look. Will I have children with my current partner? Here's what I'd like you to do. By the end, I'm going to give you your own question back, because Isabella, now, she's getting a little bit ahead of herself, but she's congratulating you already. Now you don't need to worry, because everything's as it is, well, as you'd expect at the moment. But at the very end, I'm going to give you your own question back. You're going to go to your partner, because of course you are going to have children. But fold your question, place it in one of your hands behind your back, and ask him to guess which hand it's in. Don't do this any more than 3 times, but for every guess he gets correctly, that's a child you're going to have. Don't do it more than 3 unless you want an entire team of them. But try this 3 times and you'll be surprised at the answer it gives you, and then you'll find it out to be true. Your efforts and your ambitions are going to plan, even though you feel like there have been a couple of setbacks recently. Everything is as it should be. Just remember to do this, and I think you'll surprise yourself at the answer it gives. Let's try another one. Thank you. There's no name on this one, and Isabella's showing me the upstairs of a house. I don't know why, the upstairs of a house. I'm seeing the upstairs of a house, a big empty sort of attic. Be honest with me, has somebody written a question about attics? Yes? What's your name again? It's Pete. I'll be honest with you, and you're going to think I'm joking, I'm genuinely not. Isabella has given me this feeling of, I don't fucking know. And I'll be honest with you, neither do I, so I might have to half guess this. All right, so Pete, what could this be? What could this be? You're an intelligent guy, you understand things around you, you're potentially into science or physics, something like that. Quite good at maths as well, even though if I asked you if you are, you'd say no. This is something, I'll be honest with you, I have no clue. Is your question something to do with theory? Is there something called attic theory?
Oh! Sorry.
Attic theory. Will I make a living from attic theory? Yes! It's the only direct answer I'm going to give. Why not, Pete? If that's what you're going to do, absolutely. I don't know what attic theory is, but it sounds wonderful. All right, let's carry on. So there's no name on this one. What's that? What do you say? I think this is a joke. I'm going to open this one up. I think this is a joke. All right, now I see why there's no name on it. I've got a feeling that whoever wrote this probably didn't realize I'd be reading these out to a room full of people. Actually, you know what? Don't raise your hand. You know who you are. If this is true, then what you're doing is illegal. Now, if you think about it, we have all stolen something. Whether it's the heart of another, a moment of someone's time, or even a carrier bag from the supermarket. I actually did that today. This is a little bit more serious. So whoever you are, my only answer to you is this: just stop. Just stop. Tell the people closest to you, because they're the ones being affected the most. And if you stop it now, it's not going to get worse. But if you don't stop it, it is going to get much worse. But not for you, but for your loved ones. And that's all I have to say to you. All right, let's carry on. Let's do a couple more. What was the question? Oh, well, I'll show you at the end then. I don't want to read this out because I don't want it to become a thing for whoever it was. It's quite in fact, whoever that was, come and see me at the end. All right. Do you know what? I'm actually going to do this. I've found that by limiting my physical sense of sight, I can concentrate just a little bit easier on some of the imagery that Isabella is showing me. And if I haven't answered your question yet, just keep thinking of it. Keep thinking of your questions and project them. Send them to me, and I'll do my best to answer it for you. Also, if you do have any loved ones in spirit, keep them in your thoughts as well. Invite them here, ask them to speak to me, and I'll do my best for you. All right, so I've found that, like I say, by limiting my physical sense of sight, it's much easier for me to concentrate on what Isabella is showing me. All right, here we go. This is better. Now, unless I talk directly to you, you don't need to say anything. You don't need to raise your hand. I can't see you anyway. But pay close attention. You'll know if I'm talking to you. Firstly, there's someone at the back of the room that's lost a very valuable item. And of course, it's upsetting. It was important to you. But if you can't find it, here's what it's telling you. It's telling you that by losing this item, you're being freed of negativity and pain from the past, painful memories. And by losing this item, although it hurts right now, you'll be released from the bonds that bind you. There is somebody in the room who was kind of disappointed that I didn't take their question out of the thing. Isabella, what's her name? Debbie, something like... Yeah? Okay. So Debbie, is your name Debbie?
Yeah, it is.
Now, because I can't see you, just say yes when I get to you.
Yes.
Here?
Uh-huh.
Your question is about next year.
Yeah.
About the year 2022, and it's something, but it's nothing nothing specific, nothing in particular. Your question is something like, come on, Isabella. Will 2022 be my year?
Yeah.
And my answer to you is this: the best way to predict the future is to create it for yourself. They say no future exists because it hasn't happened yet, but I see it this way: an infinite number of futures exist, and only one of them is waiting to be recognized, and it's determined by the actions we take in the present. Decide what you want now, today. Don't wait any longer, and you'll recognize that next year will be the year you have. Because think about this: we never end up in the future. The future doesn't reach us. We don't wake up one day and go, I'm here I am in the future, look at this. We're always in the present moment. So it's determined by the decisions you make in the present. Start that today, don't wait any longer, and suddenly everything will begin to fall into place. 2020 is going to be your year. Also, you can expect to, well, Isabella's shown me a letter. It's more likely to be an email or a text message that you're going to receive within the next two weeks with some very exciting but unexpected news. Look out for that. There is somebody, Stephanie, give me a yes when I get to you. Here? Is your question about, you want to know if you should change jobs or careers, is that right? Yeah. Now, if you're feeling called to do so, absolutely you should, but consider this. What would you achieve by doing that? What is it you want from life? If it's something else outside of your job or your career, then maybe changing it won't do you any good. If it's happiness you're looking for, changing your job could only be situational happiness rather than true happiness. But really, there's nothing standing in between you and happiness itself. You can find true happiness within. And the moment you do that, the moment you recognize that in yourself, it won't matter what your job or your career is as long as you are happy. Now, of course, there will be difficult things ahead of you. But as Isabella said quite often, if the path ahead looks clear, you're probably on someone else's. It's the obstacles along your path that will shape and define you as a person. You're in the process of creating a soul and identity. You're becoming who you truly are. There's another spirit in the room right in front of me, directly ahead. Is there somebody in front of me thinking of their brother in spirit?
Yes.
Okay, so give me a yes when I get to you.
Yes.
Was he older than you? He was taken before his time, clearly, and he had so much more to experience and give back to the world, and you had so much more to experience with him. But I think you'll find that there are things, interests, hobbies, and ideas that he had that live on through you, through your memories of him and the life that he lived. And Are you of, this is going to, maybe I'm wrong, my geography is not great, neither is Isabella's. Are you of Iranian descent? Closer, somewhere in the Middle East, I'm not sure where. Where are you from? Saudi. His name, it begins with a B, is that correct?
Yes.
Do you know he's standing right behind you with his hand on your shoulder? And he's crying, but he's not sad, he's proud of you. But his name is an unusual, very interesting name, a beautiful name, a name that I might not even be able to pronounce. Isabella, can you help me? Bandar. Yes? So, ladies and gentlemen, I understand that there were some of you who I unfortunately didn't get around to during that, but just know that some fortunes are best left untold. Now, while some of you sit safe in the knowledge that seeing is believing, solidifying your faith in the unknown, there are still skeptics among you, of course there are. So Isabella would like to try one final thing. Now, during the times of the seance, the most startling demonstration was known as table tipping or table turning. All those taking part would stand with their hands placed on a table and invite the spirit energy to move through their body, causing the table itself to move around the room. And that's what Isabella would like to try right now. The only physical item that we have that we know beyond doubt belonged to Isabella is this small brass ring set with a piece of amethyst, and I believe that having a personal item of hers could help to strengthen the connection even further. For this, I will be needing a volunteer, somebody sat close to the front so we're not trying to... Catherine, if you'd like to come and help me with this, ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Catherine. And if you could come and stand right here for me. All right, so you and I are going to be working together to achieve this. If this doesn't work, that's absolutely fine. Even if it only happens a little bit, that's enough for me. That's all I need. But you and I are going to be working together. I honestly can't do this without you or without somebody's help. Now, I think this is going to be just fine. I do need to point out a couple of things to you. Firstly, we're not going to be even touching the table itself. In fact, I'd like you to grab the very corners of the tablecloth, the very edges, right down here at the bottoms, exactly as I've got. So we're not even going to physically touch the table. Another thing is, some of these floorboards are loose around the table itself. And if I stand on them, it does make the table move. But I don't want you to think that's what I'm doing. If we do get any movement at all, we're just going to go with it. We're going to allow the table to do whatever it wants to do, and we're going to allow it to guide us. Now, I'm starting to see movement already. Maybe that was the floorboards. All right. So just concentrate, just focus. And we'll be inviting Isabella to move through us, into our hands, into the cloth, and eventually into the table. There is movement already. I can see it, Isabella. Come on. Again, I can see movement, but it's not enough. Let's just stay focused. There we go. Isabella. I actually think... Okay, all right, okay. So we're just going to allow the table to do whatever it wants to do. Keep your arms nice and relaxed. Just allow it to do whatever it wants to do. All right, and I know what some people at the back might be thinking, so you can let go with one hand if you want. Just wave it over the top, just to make sure that... all right, excellent. And take hold before we lose the connection. There we go. And I think... All right. Catherine, you're doing absolutely perfect. Stay exactly as you are. Stay perfectly still. I'm going to let go of this. You've got this all by yourself now. And I found when the connection is this strong, Isabella's ring itself almost starts to glow a little bit in the light. Keep hold. I don't want us to lose this connection. All right. And we're just going to allow it to do whatever it wants to do. And if it's going to... All right, okay. That's all right. Relax your arms, allow it to go wherever it's going to go. Oh, it's going down. That's okay, allow it to go down. Okay, and you can let go now. And head back to your seat. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Catherine. So in the year 1956, Isabella sadly passed away. And she could never have imagined the amount of people that would come and see her in her lifetime. And even more so after her death. And if she could see you right now, and I'm sure she can, she'd be so happy that each and every single one of you have made the effort to join us this evening. So while we take a moment to remember that Halloween is not really about spooks and scares, it never has been. It's all about reconnecting once again to those on the other side. So as we take this moment to think about the people of the past, the people of your past, I invite Isabella to join me for one final dance. And I just hope I can maintain this connection with Isabella. All right. And I know what some of you are thinking. We should be able to... We should be able to take a look under the cloth. And she's going. She's gone. Good night, Isabella. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank each and every single one of you for joining us here this evening. We understand that you could have spent your night anywhere, yet you chose to spend it with us. And I would like to leave you with one final thought. As you leave here tonight, I invite you to reach into this bowl and take out one of these for yourself. These are the questions written by other people during our shows in the last few nights. They're written by people you've never met and will probably never get to meet. Some of these are happy. Some of these are a little bit silly, but some of these are heartbreaking. And just maybe, by taking a glimpse into somebody else's life, it could give you a fresh perspective on your own, no matter what problems you may be facing or what questions you have. If all men were to bring their troubles and miseries together in one place, most will be glad to take each his own home again, rather than take a portion out of the common stock. So with that in mind, from myself and everyone here at the Oracle, thank you, good night, and happy Halloween.